Garbage. Just garbage. They're made out of trash and they belong in the trash. All right, so let's review what failed, why it's trash, why we're putting it in the trash. So this had to have a check valve. Why does it have to have a check valve? Because it only takes 5 gallons of water to turn your sump pump on. So if this did not have a check valve and it all of a sudden just stops pumping, whatever's in this line washes back down into the sump basin. 5 gallons is all it takes to turn it on. So this would repeat over and over again until it burned up the sump pump. We have a chambered sump system to take care of that problem, along with many of the other issues that outdoor sump systems have. Stay tuned. All right, so we're replacing 2 indoor sump systems. So these are meant for a crawl space or a basement. They're not intended for the outdoors. They fail miserably outdoors. They don't hold enough water. They don't have a chamber that holds any more than 5 gallons of water before they turn on. When you put a check valve in these and the water comes back, it just short cycles until the pump burns up. So a bad check valve results in the pump being taken out. We don't use a check valve in our system. Even if we did, the chamber would save it, because you wouldn't have this pump using all its life cycles up just in a matter of days. So we're going to take this piece of trash that's made out of trash, that is garbage, and we're just going to put it in the garbage. All right, we're replacing 2 indoor sump basins that were used outdoors. They failed miserably and it resulted into a flooded house. These don't hold very much water. It only takes 5 gallons of water to make the sump pump go on, and as the water's rushing in, they fill quick. We're going to put in 2 of our chambered sump systems. I'll explain to you the benefits. I'll explain to you why it's going to work so much better, and it's going to protect this homeowner from yard flooding, home flooding. So we're going around the whole house. Valentine went ahead and did a downspout here. He's putting together the brick pavers right now. We got our solid high octane. All right, so we're going to catch all the water that's coming off this street in our open French drain. Inside our open French drain, we're going to run the high octane solid. because this is tapered and the water table here is so high, it would just push these out of the ground, and then all the pipes that had 1% slope on them were now negative, and they couldn't drain to it. So to keep it down, they were putting all kinds of heavy cement blocks in it. I don't know, this is not an outdoor sump system. When you try to use an indoor sump basin for an outdoor application, there's so much liability when you do that. Sure, that first rain you might look at it and go, hey, it works, but there's so many things that you set yourself up to go wrong when you use an indoor sump basin outdoors. These things are really cheap, they're really flimsy, they're meant to be cemented into the floor of a basement or a crawl space application. They're not meant for outside use. There's no UV protection at all, so they really brittle. They're cheap to begin with, but as soon as the sun attacks them, they even get more fragile. They crack. Failure in these things pretty much right away because they're just flimsy. I mean, they're brand new. They're a piece of garbage. I mean, this thing is trash. We're going to put it in the trash. That's where it belongs. All right, so we're getting the sump pit lined with our 4-ounce fabric. The 4-ounce fabric is going to let the groundwater come running in. We're going to be catching all the surface water because remember, this is an open French drain, so there's no cover on top. We're not going to try to grow grass on top. Just going to fill this with stone. The water is going to fall through the stone into our chambered sump pump basin. The pump is then going to carry all the water, all the sheet water off the house, all the roof water that comes down, ends up on the drive, all the driveway water. This is sheet water on top of sheet water. I've been helping the people on Lake St Clair and the St Clair River for the last 35 years. One thing never changes. With all that beauty comes responsibility. And that means you have to really have your drainage tuned for when that lake gets angry. You cannot be messing around. So we have one of our 24-inch bad seeds. We actually have 2 for this house, 1 for each side. We're going to show you how we add chamber length. I recommend adding as much chamber length as you have room for. When you order your sump pump, always get an extra coupler and some chamber length. Whatever you have room for, we can ship up to 7 feet in one piece of chamber length. And we've had a couple of these units, several of them actually, where they had us ship 2 pieces that were 7 foot along with their sump system. With a couple couplers, we'll show you how easy it is to add chamber length to our bad seed. Doesn't matter if it's this 24-inch or if it's our very popular medial that's 40-inch. Gives you more slope and it's a much deeper sump. I can't go that deep here because we're already into the lake water. Now, it does take 10 inches of water to turn the sump pump on. So I account for that. I know that we're going to have water in this hole. I know that the lake water is about at the bottom of this sump. There'll be water in it always, at all times. Not worried about that. So the guys just took the end cover off. That has just those big 1/2-inch inlets where water just floods in. And they went ahead and they put the coupler on. The double bell coupler is for chamber length. So that's a question we get all the time. What do I use the double bell coupler on? You always want the double bell coupler for chamber length. The other one which I call it a split coupler. You know, it's held together with a couple zip ties. That's for vertical chamber length, because in that way it won't wobble. It holds it really firm. So if you were going to add height to your sump system, but you know, we're now shipping these out in so many different sizes. We offer so much in our catalog that no matter what it is you're building, I'm pretty sure we have one just ready to go. So we can cut whatever chamber lengths homeowners want and ship it right to your door. You're already paying for a pallet to have your sump system delivered. Make use of that pallet. I mean, you only pay once on that pallet. Doesn't matter how much stuff we can get on it. So if you order a sump system and you want a couple pieces of chamber length to put together with a couple double belt couplers, it is no problem at all. We can get that on your pallet for you and ship it right to your door. Now, these are fully assembled. All you have to do once you dig a hole, line the trench, go ahead, set your unit in, and then you just hook the discharge line up. That's it, and run your discharge line wherever you want to run it. If you have an electrical outlet, that's great. I always recommend that you have this on its own breaker so you're not sharing it with any other circuit. That way, if something goes wrong inside the house, you're not blowing a circuit, you know, throwing a breaker that this pump is on. So in this case, we're putting in a pump on each side with added chamber length. We have them on separate breakers. In the event something crazy happens where you have a pump short, throw a breaker, at least you won't have two pumps that are down. Now you can do a second pump. Our duplex units are fantastic actually, and that's an upgrade from here. You know, instead of just one pump, you could have two pumps, and that way if one pump did quit, the other pump's ready to go. So depending on what it is you're trying to protect, if you're worried about your castle, you know, with water flooding into your castle, you got to protect your castle. So I like having two pumps in a case like this because, you know, here's this beautiful lake house, and if this side just fills with water and this pump quits and it doesn't work, it could be a problem. Now, the homeowner can always add that later if that's something they want. We're doing quite a bit of work already today. There's quite a bit going on here. We got two outdoor sump pump systems chambered going in on Lake St Clair. So you can see the guys put the end cover back on with the big 1/2-inch inlets, and there's holes drilled throughout the chamber length, so there's going to be no problem taking in all the water. Super easy installation. This is fully plumbed, ready to go. We brought this from our shop and just set it in. This is the exact same unit we ship all around the United States. We just grabbed it out of our inventory and just literally installed it. That easy. Showing you guys just how easy these outdoor sumps are. Again, we've patented everything about this. And with our partnership with Boffman Tile, who's been welding together these housings for us, think about that. This is made out of culvert pipe, not flimsy junk. And we got UV protection, so the cover's always going to be strong. You can drive over the cover. We got a sump viewer, so that you could always look in. You don't have to pop the hood to see what's going on. You could just look down inside and say, okay, you know, it's pumping water. You know, the water's low. Like I said, it takes 10 inches of water to turn this sump on. So when this chamber fills up 10 inches and it clicks the float on the sump pump, it's going to empty this entire chamber. You see, that's why we do this. This holds water. You end up with this half full of water and it turns on the sump. Then it pumps, instead of 5 gallons, it's pumping tens, if not hundreds of gallons here. This here is going to hold a lot of water. So if during a storm this sump fails because they do not have, say, a generator on this house, a run-all generator. So when power's out, this is out. And if nobody's home to get a generator on it, I feel good giving this system this much chamber, because look at this giant reservoir. Look how much water this thing's going to hold. Hundreds of gallons before it floods anybody's house. By then, hopefully somebody's home, hopefully power's restored, or somebody turns on a generator, a backup generator, and gets this pump plugged in to avoid water finding its way into the castle over here. So, again, all the advantages to our chambered sump system. The list is long. One, you don't need to use a check valve, because water can come back that's in the line and it won't turn the pump back on. It'll just lay in the chamber. It's not enough to trigger it to run again. So that's a big one, because check valves are the leading cause to pumps burning up and using up all their cycles, their life cycles, until they burn right up. Leading cause. So that's big in my book. Then, if the water table's high, it can't push this out of the ground, because we're going to put all this stone on top of this chamber. So it's going to hold it down. It's going to stay in place. There's not going to be any issues. So we've taken care of all the problems and answered them in our patented chambered sump pump system. So we have this giant area just chambered, so that when the lake is angry and 2 stories of water comes over that seawall, the water can run over the wall, and this chamber will grab up all that water right away while the pump works to evacuate this water. Again, we have a sump viewer so you can see what's going on. You can look in, make sure everything's working just fine. We have a separate breaker for each pump, just to avoid a 2 pump. You don't want to ever lose 2 pumps, that's for sure. So hopefully if one side goes out, the other side can keep pumping the water down, because through the vein of sand, the water will move through this vein of sand. As long as we keep that groundwater pumped to a certain level. I love having 2 pumps. I love our flexible PVC Schedule 40. It has no seams, has no joints, nothing to go wrong. It's one piece. I absolutely love our one-piece discharge lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in a piece of 3-inch Schedule 40. That way, if somebody has this lawn aerated or something happens back here that we can't foresee, you know, they bring a boat back here and park it on the side of the house, whatever it may be. If this is slid through a piece of Schedule 40 solid, the hard PVC, a 3-inch, our 1.5-inch discharge line, I like it being just one piece. It's indestructible. Nothing can happen to this. No glue joints. The freeze and thaw can move up and down, and this one piece, I don't ever have to worry about it leaking or coming apart, because that's what they do. Always put the pipe with the holes in it at the very bottom. Then you put your downspout pipe on top of that. That is something that, you know, I can preach time and time again, even to veteran guys. I can see when the crews get in a hurry and everybody's, you know, shoving pipe in the trench. You have to make sure that your perforated pipe is on the bottom for your French drain system. Then you take your solid pipe for the downspouts. We're going to take this all the way around. This is going to be an open French drain system, the way the guys built it. You know, it gets pretty deep when you get around here. You can see why there's issues here. This home is so much higher But you know, once you put in a system like this, it don't matter. We got it beat. All that water is contained. It's going to go right into that chambered sump pump system. We're going to pump it right out to the lake where it belongs. Done. No more problems. Guys already finished over here. Show you the finished result. Show you what the finished product looks like. It's pretty cool. So we got our chambered sump pump system. Got a nice big long chamber in here. We're discharging that water right to the lake. Nice finished look. Beautiful. Guys did a great job. This is still in the rough, but just wanted you guys to see it so that you understand the chamber keeps it down because we're going to put all this stone on the chamber. It won't let the high water table make this buoyant and push it up. It also won't let the frost in the wintertime push it up. And what's nice, this chamber is going to let us build this without a check valve. So when the water comes back and goes in this big giant chamber, it's no big deal. I mean, it could be 5 or 10 gallons. It's no big deal. And once there's hundreds of gallons in this, it'll turn on and it'll make it worth turning that pump on. Now remember, a sump pump's life, it has only so many cycles in it. Every manufacturer tests their sump pumps and they're rated for so many cycles. If you have a sump pump that's running all the time, you know you're going to be replacing it very, very soon because you're taking the life right out of it. It literally has only so many runs in it before it doesn't run again. So we want to cut that down. Instead of just filling a 5-gallon basin that's, I don't know, I think it's a failed experiment even indoors, but you take an indoor system and put it outdoors, even compounds the problem. So we keep these level. We just have these level. The water just go right through these big inlets, and we got holes drilled throughout the chamber. Got a double belt coupler holding this additional chamber length onto the unit. The unit is fully plumbed. This is how it ships. This is how you get it. We took this right out of our inventory from the pumps that we ship all over the United States, and we just grabbed it this morning, a couple of them, and put them in the ground. It's this simple. It's that easy. Garbage, literally garbage. They're made out of trash and they belong in the trash. Garbage.